weekend. Happy weekend. All right. Last day before we rest up and we get back to trading tomorrow. So I know you guys like when I do these kind of weekly recaps. We look at a few days from the previous week and how the Maverick indicators could have kept you on the right side of the tracks. And if you didn't have a green week this past week in trading, meaning profitable, this could be very eye-opening for you. Yeah, so we're going to look at definitely Monday and Wednesday because some of you guys were emailing me about those opens for some reason. So we'll take a look at those and how these indicators right here could have given you clear vision to your charts. Okay. And what we're going to be doing is, and I'll kind of lay out the lay of the land here, is we're going to be using the Maverick radar for A+ setups. And we're only going to take a trade when we get an A+ setup off the open. So imagine if you just had like a little trading assistant down here that told you when there was an A+ setup. So let me give you the rules of the game here. So here are the rules. Essentially, again, we're going to be using the Maverick radar, and we're only going to take a trade when we have an A+ setup to the upside or the downside. We're going to look at NQ because I feel like that's what so many of you guys trade. I know plenty of you trade options and crypto and stocks and other Forex, but just NQ is kind of like, it's a good kind of middle ground for what a lot of people trade. We're going to look at 9:35 a.m. until we make profit. And what do I mean by that? So you guys know I do not like to take a trade the first, few minutes of market open for a lot of reasons. I think it's just gambling. You have everybody piling in and those wicks are huge. So I'm sure you've felt that if you were ever trading the first minute or two of market open, you're like, whoa. So we're just going to skip that first 5 minutes. And then we're going to trade. We're going to wait for an A+ setup until we make profit or we lose, right? It could go the other way on us. All right, so to take profit, we're going to look for a minimum of 50 ticks, okay, which is $1,000 on NQ on a mini contract. Okay, so we're going to look for 50 ticks, and our stop loss is going to be the Maverick guide. And I'll explain that in a second. If you're not familiar with our indicators, it's like our line in the sand. Okay, so we're going to look to make 50 ticks, which is $1,000 on NQ and or more. And then our stop loss will be the Maverick guide, and we're going to be working off the 5-minute time frame. All right, 5-minute time frame. And again, we are not going to take a trade until we get an A+ setup to either the upside or the downside. All right, so let's take a look at the charts and let me explain what makes an A+ grade. So our goal is to make $1,000 per trade. All right, so if you're familiar with our indicators, you can fast forward a little bit. I'll put in the time stamp on when we do the actual experiment here. But if you're not familiar with our indicators, or if you just want to learn a little bit more, you already have them and you're just every day you can learn. Let me show you what we're looking for an A+ setup. All right, so here's a good example of what we'd be looking for. First things first, your first score right here, which is AI. This is your Maverick AI Pro. Our indicator colors your candles to the data, not to price and direction. This is for a lot of people, they're like, what? Kind of blows their mind. Right now, most likely you're trading with red and green candles, and it's just telling you price and direction, right? If it's green, it closed higher than the previous candle. If it's red, it's closing lower than the previous candle. And then you just can tell price and direction. With our indicator, what it does is the Maverick AI Pro colors your candles to the data we're seeing in the background, meaning regular green, and I know it's kind of hard to see sometimes when I record my screen here, but regular green is your second strongest upside candle. Bright green is your very strongest upside candle. Okay. Gray is indecision or reversal. So when it goes sideways, it's indecision. When you get like a big, if this was a gray candle, this would be reversal because you were coming down in reversal. Red is your second, don't have a lot of red here. It went right to pink, which is very interesting. Here's a red candle, but red is your second strongest downside candle, and hot pink is your strongest downside candle. So we always say, if you see bright green, it might fly right off your screen. So look at, I mean, this is on NASDAQ, it's over a 200-point move. This would be $4,000+ right here. Okay, this is a huge, massive move. And then here, hot pink, if you see pink, it will most likely sink. Okay, and you can just see how when you get bright green, holy smokes, this thing takes off. And then when you get hot pink, woo, it really does sink. Okay. So one of the first things we're looking at, so we think of our candle color as a heat map. So one of the first things we look for is the Maverick AI Pro. We need an A+ setup to either the upside, which means you need bright green candles, or A+ setup to the downside, which means you need hot pink candles. Maverick Multi-X, we need A grade here. This is your Maverick Multi-X. What it is think of T1 through T5 as 5 traders. And they all have a completely different style. These are algorithms, but think of these as 5 traders that all have a completely different style, and they're voting every single tick across 6 time frames. Are they bearish or are they bullish? So in this case, in this moment in time, all 5 traders are voting bearish across 6 time frames. So imagine if you could be in a room, which by the way, you can change these time frames to whatever you want, and you can actually add a 7th time frame. So instead of having 6 charts on your screen and trying to read them all at once, trading is hard enough. Why don't you have your Maverick Multi-X in a nice, neat little package up here? And it's like trading with 5 other traders in the room. You know what I mean? Like with a completely different style. So what we're doing here is we're stacking probability. Gosh, if the Maverick AI Pro is saying we have our hottest upside candle, or in this case, our hottest downside candle, data-wise, then all 5 traders are voting bearish across 6 time frames. And then, oh my gosh, our Maverick trender is pegged. Like we stack these probabilities to get an A+ setup, okay? So, bright green candles, hot pink candles, got to be one or the other. That is our strongest upside candle and our strongest data downside candle. Then all 5 traders need to be voting at least on the 1 minute, the 2 minute, and the 15 minute, my first, second, and last time frame. But again, you could set this for 30 minute, 60 minute, 4 hour. They all need to be voting the same vote, okay? All 5 traders need to be agreeing across the board. The third thing is the Maverick guide. This blue line is our Maverick guide. We like to go long when we're above the Maverick guide. We like to go short when we're below the Maverick guide, okay? I could show you this all day long. Long above the Maverick guide, short below it. And this is, you know, 4 in the afternoon trading. This is after market closes, but you get my point. So if price is above the Maverick guide, it's gonna get an up arrow. If price is below the Maverick guide, it's going to get a down arrow, and all these things need to align for us to get an A+ setup. This is your trading assistant that is going to be double checking your eyes. Okay, how many times have you gotten into a trade where you're like, oh, we're going long, we're going long, we're going long, and then you lose the trade, you lost money, and then you go back and you go, what was I even seeing? I thought I saw we were going to go through to the moon. And then you look back and you're like, that is clearly a short trade. Well, the Maverick radar is like your personal assistant that will go, it'll tell you, it'll double check your eyes. You either have an A setup or you don't, you know? All right, Maverick trender. Your Maverick trender needs to be firing right here. So this line, when this line gets to the top and it can't go any further, that is showing massive strength and momentum to the upside if it's green, to the downside if it's red. And you'll get this big label here. Let me scroll all the way over, sorry. You'll get this label here that will say either downtrend or uptrend. You can make this label as big as you want. But just look at like right here, the Maverick trender. Look at from here to here, it was pegged. So that was from here, 174 down to, and you lost it right around here. I mean, that's almost a 200-point move. I mean, 200 points. 200 points on the NASDAQ is $4,000 each contract. So look, the Maverick Trender just completely pointed that out. You had tons of hot pink candles. You had tons of down confidence arrows, prices below the blue line, the Maverick guide, that's one of our checkpoints. Bears are in control. It's beautiful. I guarantee this was an A+ setup. This background is our bear bull indicator, and what it's doing is it's gauging who's in charge, the bears or the bulls. If it's a red background, the bears are in control. If it's a green background, the bulls are in control, and we need alignment there. All right, so let's just recap what we're looking for, because what we're doing is something called stacking probability. Gosh, if the bulls are in control, if we have bright green candles, if price is above the blue line, if the Maverick Trender is firing to the upside and all 5 traders, I know this isn't moving because the market's not open, they're all voting bearish, but imagine this is all green. If all 5 traders are voting green across 6 time frames, whew, probably an A+ setup. We probably have high probability we're just gonna fire off to the upside. And same thing with the downside, okay? If we are below the blue line, if we have hot pink candles, if you see pink, it will most likely sink. If the bears are in control, if all 5 traders are voting bearish across 6 time frames and the Maverick Trender is firing to the downside, we most likely are gonna fly down, okay? And this is why I can confidently say, hey, look, we're gonna go to market open on some of these days this week, and we're just gonna look to make $1,000. We're gonna look for 50 ticks minimum, or our stop loss will be on the Maverick guide, and I'll show you that in a second, but our stop loss will be like, this is like our moving trend line, okay? So let's jump in. And for sure, we'll take a look at Monday and Wednesday, because I know that's what I got some emails on. Now that you understand how this whole thing works, let me just refresh you on our rules. Number 1, we're going to be on the NQ. We're only going to be able to trade from 9:35 a.m. We're going to stay out of that crazy first 5 minutes of market open, and then we're going to go until we make profit or we lose. Take profit will be a minimum of 50 ticks, which would be $1,000 on NQ, or our stop loss will be at the Maverick guide, which is our line in the sand, and we're going to be trading the 5-minute time frame. All right, and again, we cannot take a trade unless we get an A+ setup from our trading assistant down here, the Maverick Radar, which is double checking all of the things that we look for an A+ setup, and it's going to let us know when we get that A+ setup. All right, so here we go. So we're on, let me put my cursor over it so you guys can see that Monday. This is 9:30 open. You already have an A+ setup to the downside, but man, we can't trust it. This is the very first candle of market open. We're gonna stay out of it, okay? We're gonna stay out of it. So here we go. Boom. See, this is why I would never take a trade the first candle. Look at this huge wick down. They cleared everybody's stop loss, and then boom. Now the bulls are taking over for a candle. All right, so still no trade. Let me get this down here like this. We're just gonna go candle by candle. All right, here we go. Maverick Radar just gave us an A+ setup to the upside. We have a bright green candle. Price is above the blue line. The Maverick guy, we like to go long when we're above it, short when we're below it, and now long. All 5 traders are voting bullish across 6 time frames. You have a Maverick Trender is pegged to the top, and you got your A+ setup right here. And oh, by the way, the bulls are in control. So here's what we're gonna do. Let me mark this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll just mark our little, that's where we're getting in right here. And let's take it, here we go. So we're gonna go for 50 ticks, which is $1,000, or break and a close above or below the Maverick guide, or we need to lose our A+ setup. All right, so here we go. All right, so boom. So here we go. We did not close below the Maverick guide. So we need a closure below the Maverick guide. Here we go. And this. Oh, it's running slow. Come on, buddy. All right, still have an A+ setup. and we will get out when we lose our A+ setup. Very good. Very good. I want a closure without an A+ setup. Or closing below the Maverick guide. That would be our stop loss. Ooh, oh my gosh. Need a closure without an A+ setup. Jeez. You'd think one of these would retrace a little bit. This is like, these are, we haven't lost our, okay, there we go. All right, so we closed, remember, we got to close without an A+ setup. So let's do the math here. Let me see here, 157, and let's say we closed at the very, here, I won't even take it to the top of this candle. We'll go 157, and let's see, you got it right up to there. You got out late, okay. Holy smokes. Okay, so this, from here up to here to right about there, and let's say we didn't get it all the way there, we'll take it to the bottom there. That is a 220 point move. Let's see here, can I just type it in here? $220 move. 221. So on NQ is what we're trading. Sorry about that. On NQ, that would be $4,420 per contract. This whole move. That's insane. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay. And remember, this met all our criteria to take a trade. So we were just looking for 50 ticks. Or when we lose our A+ setup. Unstinking believable. All right, let's look at Wednesday as promised. All right, so here's Wednesday. Here's your open. This is your first candle, which we would never do anything on the first candle. Here's your second candle. Here's your third candle. Remember, we need it to close with an A+ setup. We need it to close with an A+ setup right here to the upside or the downside. I didn't even watch if we had any news this week, but okay, now you got a beat. All right, there you go. Here's your closure. You have an A+ setup to the downside. If you see pink, it will most likely sink. Full disclosure, like I would have gotten in like here. This would have been me, okay? Because when I see hot pink candles, the bears are in control. We break below the Maverick guide, and all these down confidence arrows and your Maverick trender, even if I didn't have this yet, I would have gotten in. I mean, this is these are massive strength and momentum candles here, but that's okay. We're gonna mark it. The rules are the rules. We're gonna mark it right here, okay? And we get in here right at the closure. And let's see, we're going to go for at least 50 ticks, or when we lose our A+ setup. So right here, you already 256. I mean, you already made your 50 ticks right here. Am I wrong? Let me see here. 265. Oh my gosh, that's over 100 ticks right here, folks. Insane. Absolutely insane. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're going to wait for a closure without an A+ setup. Or the Maverick guide. Looks like you're getting stuck right here. All right, so you lost your A+ setup. So let's just really quick, if you got it from here, I mean, this is just a huge move. 264, let's say you didn't get the full move. You got out like, while it started bottoming out here. And we'll still follow our rules, but I just want you to see this. What did I say, 264? And this was 104. So that's $160. That's $3,200 from here to just about here. But let's follow the rules. Let's say that like you were really holding on to this thing and you got out at the top of this candle. Now obviously these are 5-minute candles, so there's so much that happens in between that you would have gotten out of this thing. But let's just stay just from here to here. So 265, and let's say you got out here. Okay, 146. 265, 146. All right, so that's $2,380 per contract. $2,380 per contract. And that's just from A plus setup to losing your A plus setup. Insane, insane, insane. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna make that, but I can't rewrite history, right? I mean, this was the market, okay? You know what? I skipped Tuesday, so people are all gonna be like, no, you skipped Tuesday. There's probably gotta be a reason. All right, well, let's go back to Tuesday. So, there's always a forensic YouTube commenter. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I noticed that this time frame, this one little thing, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, cool. Get up in front of your charts. Go practice trading or something. All right, so Tuesday, this would be one candle in. So then, oh no, this is your opening candle. Okay, great. Cool. All right, let's go through Tuesday. So Tuesday, we need an A setup to the upside or downside. Our stop loss will be the Maverick guide. All right, did it close with an A setup? It did. Let's see. So we would have gotten it here at the close. All right, beautiful. And we're off to the races. All right, which by the way, 308. There's your 50 ticks right here. There's your $1,000. If you would have just gotten out at the bottom of this candle, you would have already made your 50 ticks per our rules, right? Okay, but we'll get out when we lose the A plus setup. All right, so then we got out, so boom. So if you didn't get out here, if you didn't get out down here and you waited another 5 minutes, you would have taken a little dinger here, okay? So again, were you up $1,000? That's up to you. This is trading style. Do you close it out when you're up over $1,000, or do you hold on to it? That's up to you. So my advice would be, if you're up that much, get out and take your money. Okay. Remember, these are 5-minute candles. Well, let's jump over to Thursday, because I know a lot of you guys. Thursday was an interesting trading day. It really was. But I do believe these indicators could have kept you on the right side of the tracks. Where's Thursday? Right here. So that's your market open. Let me zoom in here, guys. Sorry about that. Thursday had some wackiness later in the day. I can't remember the market open. If you guys go back to YouTube, I was trading Microsoft options off the open, I think. I think we were trading Microsoft options off the open. So again, our indicators work on NinJATRADER, TradingView, and whether you're using these to trade futures, crypto, stocks, you name it, they're going to work on your charts. Okay, so let's look at Thursday. Thursday was weird. All right, so let's go through here. Remember the rules, and this is your opening candle. So look at this wick. Oh my gosh, that first candle scares the heck out of me. I would never jump in right as the bell rings. All right, got a little indecision here. Which way we gonna go? Let's see here. All right, it's got to close with an A grade. So again, you might have gotten in way up here because you had an A grade, but because this is a 5 minutes worth of candle, but you know the rules. So here we go. So we're gonna mark that right there. And let's see, we gotta make 50 ticks. All right, did we make our 50 ticks? Let's see here, 78 down to, nope, you made about 40 ticks, which is still like $800. Okay, so there's your 50 ticks. So you got in here, 281 down to 188. So there you go. There's your 93 ticks right here. Unbelievable. But let's just see like how far it goes down until we lose our A plus setup. And again, you would get out somewhere in these nuances of these 5-minute candles. Let's see here. Oh, now it's starting to come back at you. There you go. So easily made our $1,000. 279, let's say like even down to 79, you would need to take it to here to go. Oh, well, that would be more than 50 ticks. What am I talking about? That's 100 points. So that is actually a $2,000 trade from here down to 79. If you want to make 2,000, you'd have to go all the way to 79, which would be here, which would be almost the bottom, which nobody's going to grab the bottom. But man, the halfway point, that's your $1,000 right there. That's your 50 ticks. So really, you only needed to get in and get out like halfway through this whole move. And then boom, there is your wonderful 50 ticks on NQ. So pretty cool stuff. Wanted to give you a quick recap and give you an idea of how these indicators could keep you on the right side of the tracks. So I know it takes forever to use that replay tool, so I'm not going to do every single day. Friday was terrible off the open, so I would have just stayed completely out. I doubt we even got an A+ setup off the open on Friday, which I normally don't trade on Fridays, but it was later in the day. It wasn't off the open. The open was just Chopville. But anyway, NQ 935 till we made profit, minimum of 50 ticks. And I think we crushed that every day that we looked at it. And we were on the 5-minute time frame. And we just look for these A+ setups. So if you want essentially what I'm calling it is like a trading assistant, your eyes can deceive you on so many trades. Why not have something like the Maverick radar on the bottom of your screen, you know, nice, neat, and easy, telling you when you think you have an A+ setup, do you really have an A+ setup? Why don't you let this thing tell you when you have an A+ setup? And then, gosh, and then you just have to lean on your support and resistance levels, your price action, and you make the decision for yourself, okay? So if you want clear vision on your charts, if you want literally, I mean, like I always say, the indicators I wish I had since day one, come check us out. Go watch all our videos, read the reviews on our site, see what our traders are saying. Again, not financial advice, do your own research, but we would love, love, love to help you crush it this year in 2026. So if you weren't profitable this week, if you were struggling to get in and out of trades, if you weren't sure if you were like nervous getting into trades and stuff like that, come check us out. All right. I think you'd have a lot more confidence if you knew you had an A+ setup when it was time to take that trade or get out of that trade. All right. So come check us out. MaverickIndicators.com. That's MaverickIndicators.com.